Wow. A room full of curious people. You're here, I'm here. I love this. I love it. I get to share my story with people who will actually understand. We're all here because we're driven by ideas. But today we go further. Not just ideas, what the ancient Greeks called praxis, practical action aimed at change. So this goes beyond ideas. And today we're going to explore the metaphor of the inner monk. The inner monk is built right in. We've all got one. It has three qualities. It's introspective, it's non-judgmental, and it's innocent like a child. By connecting your head and your heart, your body and mind, the inner monk reveals you to yourself from the inside. And you might be surprised by what you find. I grew up in England in the 1950s. My dad lost his own father when he was just 12, and he never had a good role model. To the customers of his Italian restaurant, he was a colorful character with flair. They loved him. But to us at home, he was a frustrated and resentful man. My earliest memory is of him lacing into my brother with a cane, slashing from side to side. He said he loved us, and I actually believed him. He did, but I grew up in fear of him anyway. Nevertheless, he was my role model. I looked like him. Everyone said I was like him. And adding confusion to the mix, he shoved his Catholicism down our throats. It was unbearable. I left home at the earliest opportunity. At college, I abandoned his faith, and I immersed myself in occult and spiritual studies. I was looking for anything that could give me peace of mind. I put my curriculum aside. I didn't know exactly what I was doing, but I knew I needed something more. I turned to classical philosophy, but I didn't see how that would change me. Change me. I was angry and frustrated and alone. The sexual revolution was in full swing at the time, but not for me. I could not imagine having a trusting and loving relationship. Just watching everyone else so at ease with themselves was agony. It was painful. So I sold my prized collection of music and books and put everything that I knew and distrusted behind me. I hitchhiked to India. It was a one-way trip. I had no intention of coming back. Money was tight. I sometimes slept on the roadside, and it was stressful. But I was still better off in many ways than the people who lived there. The poverty was scary. I'd never seen anything like it. In Afghanistan, I met an old man who told me he just turned 40. I couldn't get his face out of my mind. My sense of adventure slowly gave way to aimlessness. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no one to talk to. In the Swat Valley of Pakistan, I came down with hepatitis and landed in hospital. Total strangers came to visit me with the best of intentions, but I had no trust left to give. None. As soon as I was better, I moved away from all my fellow travelers and into a tiny rented room wedged in the north corner of the valley. I aimed to be alone. I wanted to prove that I wasn't lonely and that I didn't need anyone. This intensified the aimlessness, and I started shooting morphine. The only thing that would save me now was an act of random kindness. And it came. One of those hospital visitors was a Danish woman. Her name was Anna Mette. She'd lived in the valley for years and must have heard complaints about me. I was completely out of place. And there'd be no questions asked in that place about the disappearance of a random stranger. Each man and boy in that valley wore a sidearm, carried a rifle. As for the women, they simply were not to be seen. The Taliban was born in that Swat Valley. Anna Mette now took it upon herself to come and find me. She took one look at my drug stash, and she became a whirlwind, yelling, stamping her feet, grabbing my gear, and packing my bags. She loaded me onto a Toyota pickup and pointed me to Dharamsala. Apart from repeatedly calling me an idiot and telling me never to come back, she said, "Go to the Tibetans." I sat on the tailgate and watched her disappear as I rounded the bend. I never saw her again. Anna Mette didn't just save my life, she touched something in me. She connected me to my inner monk. For the first time, I had value in my own eyes. The Tibetans were just across the border in India, and they welcomed me with open arms. And Anna Mette was right. They were just what I wanted, just what I needed. Buddhism was cool, but the Tibetans were amazing. These refugees would never go home again. Their country had basically been abolished. Their monasteries were wrecked, their culture was trashed, and they were the most cheerful people I'd ever met. And the cherry on top was the lamas who spoke of transforming the mind. There was logic here, and reason, debate and discussion. The method was empirical. The subject, my own mind. I was in. I was ordained as a Buddhist monk, and I intended to stay for life. But after 8 years, I realized it was time for me to move on. My inner monk had come of age. And this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. So what is the inner monk? Let's take a look. You are already breathing, and I don't want you to change anything about that, okay? This is not a special breathing exercise. Please bring your attention to the rise and fall of your chest as you breathe normally. Don't change anything. Just feel what's happening. Now follow the breath in your nose, coming in and going out. You may find this relaxing, and you might say, well, it's the breath. But I'd say, wait, you always breathe. If it were that, you'd always be relaxed. No, it's attention which makes this breath different. Buddhism speaks of 51 mental factors, and attention is one of them. Attention is special. I asked you just now to pay attention to your chest, and you knew immediately how it felt. I directed you to your nose, and your attention was right there. If I ask you now to feel your right hand, you can. You don't have to move a muscle. You just know. You can't change the world. You can't control the world. You can't decide what happens to you. You can't entirely be who you want to be because you're shaped by so many causes and conditions. But you can train your attention. Why? What's the use of attention? We all react to things that happen to us, sometimes in ways that we wish we hadn't. Reactions are not random. They're patterns, learned, automated, and internalized. I knew I was crazy to shoot morphine, that I could get hooked, but I did it anyway. The inner monk gets behind the automation to take an objective, unsentimental look at the things that trigger you. So I saw that distrust made me a loner, and self-trust gave me confidence, enabled me to love, allowed me to feel joy. The inner monk knows your triggers before you react. So instead of taking the easy way out and blaming my father, I now began to see the ways in which I was harming myself. The process is simple and relentless. The inner monk asks, "How are you?" And the answer is not, "Oh, I'm very well, thank you." That just won't cut it. But it's okay. The inner monk is no judge. Compassionate, rather, and your closest ally. Together, you get to the root of your hurt, your anger, your shame. And with all the emotional baggage laid bare, you start to see the ways in which you hang on to it and how you can start letting go. It takes a little practice. A few minutes a day is enough, as long as it's every day. The first thing I learned from the inner monk was that I couldn't be myself in the monastery. I felt out of place. I felt like a fraud. Like it or not, I was back in the big bad world. It was hard. Apart from having no money and no marketable skills, I couldn't relate to the very things which were most important to everyone else. Money, career, family, and with a bit of luck, happiness. But I did know one thing. Happiness was not a matter of luck. This disturbed me. Okay, how's the breath? Are you still there? Bring your attention back. Just because I'm speaking doesn't mean you can't also be aware within yourself. So I mentioned at the outset that the inner monk has three qualities. Firstly, it's introspective. Your inner monk's built right in. It's not a new skill that you have to learn. Attention is a natural function of your brain and nervous system. You can train it like a muscle. It just gets stronger if you train it, and when you stop. It's non-judgmental. Without the emotional baggage, you see that your inner fears are manageable. You're not at war with them. You're just watching, understanding, and letting go. It's innocent. The inner monk comes from a place of deep, natural love. Sitting alone, you embrace yourself. Listening without judgment, you open to others. Loving each breath, you love life itself, with all its traps and horrors. With attention, you care. With care, you love. And with love, you're full. I glimpsed this the day that Anna Metta came and ransacked my room. She was ferocious, but she cared. I was worth something. Because of her, I'm standing here. Again, this is the important part. Come back to your breath, back to your chest. Feel your whole body. your posture, your mind. Now, how are you? As I relied on my inner monk, I stopped worrying so much about who I should be and paid attention to who I was. I discovered, to my surprise, a decent man, worthy of love. I met a wonderful woman and became, of all things, a family man. I couldn't believe it. I was happy. It was the last thing I expected. And then there was the self-respect. I actually began to like myself. I started teaching again, not Buddhism, not doctrine. Today, my goal is not to pass on information so much as to excite your curiosity about yourself, to discover your inner monk. We're carried through life on the constantly shifting crest of the present moment. We're observers, but we're also part of the wave. It's never still. There's always movement. Your challenge is to be all that you can be and take nothing for granted. The inner monk brought me self-love, self-compassion, self-respect. I forgave my father. I even gave a TEDx talk. So you see, the inner monk really can change who you think you are. Thank you.